ever since I was a young boy competing in junior competition and training at Coventry Judo Club, my main emphasis was always about attacking to throw for ippon. And I can't ever remember being taught to play the edge of the area or get somebody penalised or using gamesmanship to win a match. It just never came up. And from the very early days, it was always about learning how to do skills, how to do technique, and that would enable me to win, not to win at any cost. And I think that this is one of the main reasons that I have such a yearning now for skills and how to hone those skills and develop them in the right way. And as my judo developed, I realized that learning how to win in all different aspects of judo enabled me to broaden my horizons. But that came with experience, I think. And later, the importance of transitioning from standing down to ground came because I realized that I needed something on the ground as well. But in my very, very early days, I had a really strong seoi-nage from a standing position. It was nothing about throwing off my knees. It was my main technique, and I scored lots of ippons in junior competitions with it. And it got to the stage where my opponents would almost be sitting on the floor to prevent me from throwing them for ippon. And in fact, it got to the stage where I was angry that I hadn't finished the match by ippon at the end. And I remember a couple of matches and they would be grovelling, trying to avoid it. And I'd have to win by a smaller margin. And I wasn't happy about that. And this is when I realised that I needed something else. And my dad and I realised that I needed something else. And that being so proactive with my full-on attacks was forcing a totally opposite reaction from my opponents. And when it was pointed out by my dad to me that if I added more things to my armoury or to my repertoire, then I could use this to my full advantage. And, you know, sometimes it would work the opposite way as well, because if I had something else, it would sometimes get an opposite reaction so I could do my seoi-nage. And it opened up many, many winning possibilities, changing the direction of the throws and following them down to the ground increased my possibilities of winning even more. And it wasn't always the way that I wanted to win, but it still enabled me to go for the ippon if I could, and at least that was always my intention, and not to just win at any cost or by any means possible. And when I look back now, I think, well, you know, I was adding things to my judo all the time, and I think I had pretty good all-round judo. But it would have been better for me if I could have added something counterwise to my judo. And when I look back now, I can't ever remember, other than the odd pickup, I can't ever remember looking at things like uranage as a reactive technique to do to somebody that was attacking me, because I never gave them a chance to attack me. I was always 100% in there, and at that level then it was enough. But looking at the way judo has now developed, I think that more and more judoka are looking at these opportunities. Even the great Japanese fighters, Takato, for example, at 60 kilograms, and you've got Ono, all of these fighters are venturing towards unorthodox methods of throwing. And for some, there is a real mixture of traditional and European style of throwing in their judo, and I'm talking world and Olympic champions. So for me, using action reaction to open up my possibilities of attack, it was all about me giving the chance or giving myself chance to follow swiftly into a newaza situation. I think that was my proactive, reactive approach. Dominic Ressel of Germany, for example, fighting in the under 81 kilos category now, has not only got a wide variety of techniques, which he does. I mean, he scores with Yoko Satemi Waza, he scores to the front, to the back, and big uchimata as well, big surigoshis. And I think that he also capitalizes on the mistakes of his opponents. He enforces those mistakes from his opponents because he is so proactive. And I think that part the way through the contest, they feel, well, I've got to attack here, I've got to do something. And he punishes their mistakes with his dynamic uranagi. So, and he's transitioned into newaza as well. He's fast and well rehearsed. And I think this, for me, makes him one of the most dangerous fighters on the world circuit at under 81 kilograms. And he's one of the most versatile fighters out there at the moment. I think that having somewhere to go if something fails is so imperative in judo. And being able to perform a technique so well that your opponent totally reacts in an opposite direction to try and avoid it creates so many opportunities. And when I look back, I think, to the big one for me, which of course was the 1984 Olympic final. This worked against me, of course, against Frank Winiker of Germany again. And on reflection, I was, of course, leading the match with Frank on attacks, and I was dominating the grips. Not on my best form throughout the day, so looking to dominate enough to win and become Olympic champion. And I think that was in my mind. But then, of course, total disaster for me because Frank attacks with a one-handed uchimata to the right and gets a total opposite reaction from me, disappears underneath me for a left-handed seoinage, which caught me completely by surprise, took me over, and of course Frank becomes Olympic champion. It's a prime example of action-reaction at its very best. An opportune moment for Frank Winiker, and, well, what a time to do it. If you're going to do it at any time, then that's the time to do it. But a great fighter and a great man. He took his chance and he took it well. And if you've got the technique to take advantage of this kind of situation, then action-reaction is how it works. And it's how it works at its very best. Being proactive then allows you to be reactive. And for me, this is what judo is all about. And it's the way to go. When we're thinking about how to progress our judo, let's be reactive. Let's be reactive with good technique, good solid technique. And then let's be reactive if our opponent attacks, because action-reaction is what's going to win in the end. And having a positive attitude is also what's going to win in the end.